All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that might sound familiar, but we're going to look at it in a whole new way. It's all about self-care, but specifically for those of us who spend our lives, helping others.
We've all heard this, right? You're on a plane, half listening to the safety briefing, but have you ever really stopped and thought about why that's the rule? I mean, why is it so absolute, so non-negotiable? Okay, let's really get into it.
Yeah, the source material paints this really vivid and honestly kind of terrifying picture. Imagine it, the cabin pressure drops. You, as the parent, you're desperately trying to shove this strange plastic mask onto your child's face. Of course, they're scared, they're fighting you, and the whole time you're both running out of air. Your attempts to help just become frantic and useless. It's a recipe for total disaster. So, okay, obviously this isn't just about airplanes, right? This is a huge metaphor for what happens when we, as helpers, as caregivers, as leaders, run out of our own oxygen. We're talking about that slow-motion emergency called burnout, and it happens when our own mask is askew.
So the source introduces us to this guy, Jordan. And he's that person we all know. Heck, maybe you are that person. He's the go-to guy for every single cause, the counselor who takes on clients who can't pay, the one who just seems to have this bottomless well of compassion. But eventually, that well ran dry. It was replaced by this deep exhaustion, a hard-hearted feeling he didn't even recognize in himself, and this chilling feeling of being dead on the inside. He was running on fumes.
So what's the answer here? What is this oxygen mask we're actually talking about? Now look, it's not just about, go get a massage or take a vacation. The source argues it's something way, way deeper than that. It's a fundamental shift in your internal operating system, your whole mindset.
So the very first piece of this mask, the first component, it's having a super clear and powerful sense of purpose. It's about knowing not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. Let's see how the source material builds this idea out.
The source uses this awesome old story to really hit this point home. A traveler comes across 3 stone cutters and asks them what they're doing. The first guy, he just grunts, "I'm cutting stones," just the task. The second says, "I'm earning a living." Okay, a personal purpose, but kind of limited. But the third one, he looks up and he's got this joy in his eyes and he says, "I'm building a great cathedral." See, he connected his tough daily grind to something huge, something transcendent, something way bigger than himself, and that changed everything for him.
So this is the big question, right? The source is basically asking us, what's your cathedral? Because figuring out that bigger why, well, it isn't just some nice, fluffy thought. It is the first crucial flow of oxygen when things get really tough.
Okay, next up, if purpose is the oxygen, then you can think of your mindset as the filter on the mask. It's what determines how you process everything. The good, the bad, the challenges, the feedback, all of it.
This whole idea comes from the amazing researcher Carol Dweck, and it lays out 2 completely different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you've got the fixed mindset. That's the belief that your talents, your intelligence, they're just set in stone, so you avoid challenges because you don't want to look bad. But on the other hand, you have the growth mindset. This is the belief that your abilities can be developed through hard work and dedication. You actually embrace challenges, you learn from criticism, and you find inspiration when other people succeed. It's a total game changer.
And here's the kicker. Here's why this matters so much. When you adopt a growth mindset, you totally reframe what self-care even means. It stops being this reactive chore you do only when you're already breaking down. It becomes a proactive, ongoing process of learning and growing. It's the very path to becoming a better, more resilient, and way more effective helper.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the actual substance of the oxygen. What does it really mean to build genuine, sustainable well-being? Well, for that, the source points us toward the whole field of positive psychology.
This is what's known as the PERMA model, and it's brilliant. It breaks down flourishing into 5 core pieces. You've got P for positive emotions, E for engagement, that's when you're in the zone or in a state of flow, R is for positive relationships, M is for meaning, hey, there's our cathedral again, and A is for accomplishment. And the science behind this is it's so cool. There's this thing called de Broaden and build theory, and it shows that positive emotions aren't just these fleeting, feel-good moments. They actually broaden our perspective and literally build our psychological, social, and even physical resources over time. So get this, feeling good actually builds your capacity to handle stress later on.
So, when you put it all together, you have your mask. You've got a clear sense of purpose, that's your cathedral. You've got a growth mindset that embraces challenges, and you have a real commitment to positive well-being, using that PERMA framework. This isn't just another self-care checklist. This is your internal operating system. It's the sustainable, life-giving oxygen that makes everything else, like diet and exercise, actually work.
So at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. Caring for yourself is not selfish, not at all. In fact, it's the single most responsible and compassionate thing you can do, for you and for every single person who relies on you. It's about making sure that when an emergency hits, or even just on a tough Tuesday, you've got the oxygen you need to show up. The mask is ready. The only question left is, will you put it on first?